Welcome to Listening to Paint Dry with Mike and Dan, a podcast about the art and hobby of miniature painting. I'm Mike.
And I'm Dan. Thank you for joining us as we continue our journey to be better, braver, happier painters.
So today we get to tackle a very personal but kind of important topic. I don't like that line. Today we tackle a very personal but very important topic, mental health.
Yeah, mental health. It's such an important issue today. It's not only in our hobby, but also in the world in general. The quarantines during COVID-19, work-related stuff, the environment, you name it, it's all kind of dragging us down a little bit. So the topic of forefront is going to be mental health today.
You know, people are really starting to take stock of their mental well-being and making big decisions. We've seen athletes and musicians take time off from touring and competing to get themselves better, both physically and also mentally.
Before we continue, if you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, know you are not alone and there are people that are willing to help you. Dial 988 on your cell phone or reach out to some friends, family, painters, whatever. We'll be here to help you.
It's the beauty of the hobby community. There's a lot of support out there. But one other important note, though, neither Dan or I are doctors or mental health professionals, neither is our wonderful guest today. All of our opinions, practices, etc. are our own opinions, and we personally cope with our own mental health situations in different ways. Remember, if you're struggling, you can seek professional help. There's somebody there that can help you.
Okay, so now that you started us on such a bright note today, Mike, let's introduce our guest today. He's the founder of Mental Health Charity Painters, and he's a fine painter himself. Please welcome Prince Saeed to the show. Thank you for joining us, Prince.
Hey, good evening, Mike. Good evening, Dan. Thank you for having me on the show. Can't wait to get into this topic. I know we got a lot to talk about. I appreciate your welcome, and I appreciate you asking me to be on the show.
Thank you very much, man. We really appreciate it. It's been wonderful getting to meet you and know you. Really, for me, it's been since the Kill Team Open, and I guess Dan met you last year at the NOVA Open, so it's been a lot of fun. But I do have to interject one thing, though. Who was the person that did the estate planning episode, Dan? Anyways, we've kind of had downers of topic recently, Prince.
Yeah, I know. We should have started with, we could have started with mental health first and then went to estate planning. I guess that probably would have been a lot better optics for our part. Probably.
We got you covered.
Both sides of the coin. Yikes. All right. So before we delve into kind of the main topic of the show tonight, Prince, why don't you give our listeners a little bit of an hobby origin story so they can get to know you?
Yeah. So my name is Prince Yohannes. I actually started back painting about 2018, 2019. But before that, I did play some more games 6 years before that. And, that's what started the hobby and for me. But around 2018, 2019, I actually got diagnosed with PTSD from the combat zone. So come this year, I'll be retired after 22 years in the military, and painting miniatures as a whole is what's been helping me with my PTSD and controlling some of the things that I go through on a day-to-day basis. So that's where my hobby and really started, and knowing that it helped me, I wanted to make sure that I could use my talent and my skills of what I learned to help myself, to help my brothers and sisters in arms also find a way to be able to deal with their struggles and their mental health struggles that they're dealing with.
Well, let me make sure I'm going to interject here, though, and want to say thank you definitely for your service. We definitely appreciate the sacrifices that you have made. And so thank you.
I wouldn't have it any other way, Mike.
So, hey, I don't know if this is going to be a show or not, but you've never, ever told me what you did.
So I have multiple jobs in the Army. My first job was an artilleryman, and then from there I became an Apache mechanic. I did a stint as a recruiter. After recruiting, I went into a cryptologic network specialist, which is military intelligence.
Oh, so that's why you're at me. Okay.
And then my last job was cyber operations, but I really didn't move into the technical realm of that job. I really decided to lean forward into the leadership roles and make sure I was taking care of soldiers the right way.
Cool.
Nice. Nice. So artillery, that must have been one shell of a job. Oh, I had to get my dad joke out for tonight.
Artillery. I love artillery. To this day, I could walk it down. I could walk it down memory lane of getting the gun set up. Being a number one man, being a number two man, getting the powder bags, putting the powder bags in, put the powder bags in the shell. I see red, you see red. Permission to close, permission to prime, ready to hook up, ready, and then you sit there and wait for them to tell you to fire, and you're so close to that cannon when you pull that lanyard. It's a rush.
So when you play any type of games, do you find yourself going towards that long distance kind of artillery type army or element of it, or are you kind of like, yeah, I'm not going to play that shit, I did it for real?
So I when I did play, I played Dark Angels. So when
I'm
I did
a Dark
play,
Angels man too. So you like your motorcycles?
Yeah, all I took back then, it was when troops and bikes, or when Terminators and bikes were troops.
Cool.
And that's when I used to play, and I would bring 100 Terminators and like 6 bikes. And all I cared about doing was dropping in and shooting. I didn't care if I died. I didn't care if I lose. I named one target, and I'd be like, if I kill that target, I don't care about the rest of the game.
So let me throw this in really quickly, because I don't even know if Dan did this or not. Did you guys get Leviathan?
I did not get Leviathan. I have an opportunity to get one, but if I do, I will be painting up the entire box and then putting it into a raffle to help raise money.
Nice.
I did not, because I got enough gray. I don't need any more. Honestly, I literally have hundreds of Space Marines. I weeded out my Tyranids. I like the new models though, but I just I don't have the brain capacity right now to paint my green and black Terminator, or not Terminators, whatever those effing things are called, bugs. I forgot their names of them.
They're Ryan Gosling's Leapers or something like that.
Sure, yeah.
Van Ryan Leapers or some shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna. I had a good. Yeah, I'm gonna stay away from that one.
The Ryan Reynolds bugs. What? Yeah, and I actually was like, yeah, there's 2 models I want. I want one Terminator and one Vanguard Veteran. I'm not spending $200 some odd on a box for 2 models. And I don't even want the Vanguard Veteran for painting that. I want it for a conversion I want to do. So I'm like, yeah, I'll find it on eBay somewhere.
Yep, it'll be on eBay.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'll just find somebody who did a sculpt of it on 3D Sculpt, etc. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I apologize. I got us diverted from the normal talking points here. So
hey, no apology needed. We're ready.
Yeah, no, let's talk about his painting style.
Okay. Okay. So, Prince, let's talk a little bit about your style. At the Kill Team Open, which was in February of last year, we got to spend a lot of time with you. And Mike had pointed out a few times that your pieces brought to mind some of the artwork from the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about your similar use of colors and what really inspired you on that?
So actually, when Mike had mentioned it to me, I actually pulled up my phone and I was like, I remembered what he was talking about, but I needed to see it. And then so when I looked at it, I was like, oh, that is exactly what I'm about to paint. And it's just that I did a model, one of my capstone or flagship models that I always paint, which is a Tenjin by Black Forge Games. I painted that model just in black and white. I only did it in black and white, and then I added a splash of color. And so the model that I was working on was a very personal model. It's actually got 2 sculptures of myself in it. from my poetry book that I wrote. And as I was doing it, I was like, I just want to do it and match the cover of the book. Well, the cover of the book is in black and white with a splash of red. And so one of my close friends was like, "Hey, why don't you do it in a brown paint scheme or a brown sienna paint scheme?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? That could be cool." So I just started painting the entire thing. And when I saw you all, I only had one model, I only had one piece of it done. Since then, I've got the whole thing done. I've got some critiques and things to fix some things because I will be entering it into the Capitol Palette, because it was such a inspirational piece. And hearing Mike talk about it and how, Mike told me he went home and he was talking to his wife about it and how he's seen it and he was really excited about it. I said, you know what, let me finish this piece, so I can bring it to the Capitol Palette and enter it because, it is a different style. I just like very simplistic things, and I don't really think from the technical aspect when I paint. I just like to paint, and to me, it looked cool. And I was like, man, this looks really cool. I'm only using one or two colors, and I'm adding a lot of different aspects, and then red's going to be the color that pops. And it just so happened to match the old school National Museum with the African American artwork and the culture from there. And I learned something from Mike that day, because I remember seeing it, but I didn't know that there was like a museum that had it. So I went and did some research, and sure enough, I think I hope when Mike saw the pictures that it made him proud that I finished it in a well-rounded way for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, when you had sent me the pictures, I was really excited to see it. It's a beautiful piece, and it's the use of colors by people is always interesting to me because you see, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in the mental health portion of it as well. But it's always such a reflection in the time period. The time period flavors the music, it flavors the art, it flavors every aspect kind of life in the 60s and music, like different genre, different time periods, all those things. I don't know. It's just hard for me to explain. It's just really interesting to see. And when I was in the African American History Museum, I was really taken aback by the differences and the similarities from paintings from different regions in the United States that were there they were from the same time period, and they still. The first thing I kind of thought of was the Zorn palette, which is kind of what is it? It's black, white, yellow ochre, red, and I think there's one more color. Dan, do you remember? Is it five
There
or four
is.
colors?
It's not sepia or anything like that.
But it's blue. Is it blue? Is it a blue? I'm gonna have to look it up now.
You have to look it up. I can't remember right now.
Yeah, the Zorn palette. I just losing my mind. But it was interesting how so many different different cultures, different point of views, different use of colors and how they express how it's expressed. And so no, it's 4 colors. I was right. It's titanium white, Mars black, yellow ochre, and cadmium red. And you can get those sepia tones using those colors as well. You know what I'm saying? Using the yellow ochre and a little bit of the black and the red, and it can give you a nice sepia tone. So anyways, now that I've babbled enough, but yes, it is an absolutely beautiful piece. And it's, I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool to see that, like, go to the museum, see African American artists on a 2-dimensional scale, and then see work from an African American artist on a 3D scale in miniatures. Kind of go. I just thought that was awesome to see kind of the same kind of color pattern, intentionally or not, but it was just kind of neat,
No, I appreciate it. It was awesome. I learned something, and actually to this day, now before I paint anything, I do a full black and white, a black and white undercoat of all of my things to just make sure all the values are there. And if I like the model that way, I'll stop. Or if I like it and I don't want to do much, I'll go back and do exactly what we're talking about here and just grab a couple of reds and browns, and that's it. I'll paint the whole model that way. I just painted one that way the other day. Came out looking the same way. It looks pretty awesome.
All right, so well, now we've kind of hit that side of it. So talk to me. What's next on your painting journey? What is the next thing that you want to accomplish?
As far as my painting journey goes, this year I set out for a huge goal to get a whole bunch of things done to enter in the capital palette, because I wanted to move from an apprenticed painter to a journeyman painter, where I feel that I should be. But last year I got some really good feedback on personal stuff on my painting, to where, be more consistent from top to bottom, which was the main thing that kept me from getting close to getting a gold last year. Was I didn't have the consistency of top to bottom. And then also, projecting which angle or where the light's coming from. I don't pay much attention to that at all, because I just like to paint. So this year I set out the model that I really hope to complete on this journey is my Tenjin model, which just scaves the height limit for capital palette, but it is one of my favorite models to paint. This model I've been painting for 2 years. So it's got a very special skin tone and a very special story behind it. It's a Tenjin born in a pink storm. And so, yeah, I pushed my limits with this model. And yeah, the journey for me is just to get there. And then after that, I probably will only enter a competition piece if I paint something that I like. But my journey will, as far as a painter, I just want to push myself this year. And then after that, I like to focus on other artists in the community.
So I want to highlight one of the things that you said in that you talked about just painting because you like to paint. And I want to stress to listeners out there, that's okay. Right? Like you don't have to paint something for a competition. You don't have to worry about lights or anything along those lines. If that's not what you want to do, enjoy the act of painting. You know what I mean? And so that's such an important thing that a lot of times I know I get wrapped up in competitions, and I'm actually really working hard to trying not to have competition painting be the sole focus almost of my painting. And so that's a hard lesson to learn, just to paint for joy for joy's sake, right?
Right.
You know.
And that's sort of kind of the reason why I do it that way, Mike, because it was something that I started to use as my own form of therapy for myself. And so like when I start thinking about those very technical things, or the things, if I get stressed out, I'll ask somebody who knows how I paint, and I'll say, hey, this is what I want to do. How do I do it? Like case in point, Cephalopod Studios taught me how to, Ryan taught me how to use blending in a fun way. Here's how you can blend something with glazing. And it was very fun. It was sloppy at first, but then it came out looking amazing. And I had fun. And ever since he taught me that in a way that I could understand without being very technical, I've been using it since almost a year now. I've been using that same technique in different ways, and it's been fun.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I like hearing that. I also hear the paint water in the background.
Because I'm definitely painting while I'm doing it.
But I think that's a good transition into the next portion of this, though, Dan.
Hey, Prince, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your mental health charity, Painters, and how it got started and what your goals are for that?
Awesome, Dan. Yeah, that's woo. So, the origins of where it came from was, battle, if I can call you battle while we're on here, Dan, is a struggle, right? When we first met, Dan, we met and, we had a touchy moment because we both knew we were dealing with something and nobody else knew, but the two of us could look at each other and tell that we were dealing with it. And I made a promise in 2022 that if we raise $4,000 just doing the little charities that we're doing, I made a promise to start a nonprofit organization which would allow us to reach out more and accomplish more than what we were accomplishing. You know, it's very important to me when it comes to mental health. I've had a lot of personal struggles, a lot of dark moments myself, and creating a community where it was safe for me, but then also safe for other people, really meant a lot. And I wanted to be able to provide more to people out there in the world by, sending and donating money to people that give services, especially the free services that are given to my brothers and sisters in arms. That is really something that's truly dear to my heart, um, because I've seen a lot, and it means so much to me. So that was the importance of the mental health charity painters being created, is us having a place to where we can make sure everybody else feels safe, knows that there's a place that they can go talk about what they're struggling with, have someone else tell them, well, I'm not a provider, I'm not a doctor, but this is what I do, and this is how I do it for me. You can try it if you want to, but you know what? You can also just talk to me and I'll sit here and listen. Sometimes that's all we need. When it comes to, mental health and dealing with art, like, you can put so much of your passion and so much of your pain into art. I mean, I do many different forms of art. I mean, I'm a painter, I'm a musician, and I'm an author. All the mental health struggles that I went through, I put into my poetry book. And now that I'm painting, it's just like a calming moment for me. When I'm painting, I'm away from everything. And it just gives you that time to think about, what can I do for self-healing for myself? And for me, painting is it. It's fun. I get to hang out with people. I met great men like the two of you. Even my daughter chimes in when we do streams, and she sits in the background, and she's littles, and she gets to have fun and do her art and her crafts. And it's just a good time. Um, as far as mental health charity painters, what we do is, we paint models, of course, but we also reach out to the community, into the hobby world, and to the rest of the artists. And when we reach out to them, we give them an opportunity to help us provide that support. We ask for, hey, would you like to donate a model? Is there a piece of artwork that you created that you think would be a good choice to be put in a raffle to help us raise money to provide support for people around the world with mental health? The same thing goes for companies. Like this year, we had Doomlings, which is a card game, a family card game. They're like, "Yep, no problem, Prince," and they sent us a deluxe edition of their game for the raffle. And they're like, "Done." We wouldn't have been able to do that if we weren't a nonprofit. Because a lot of the donations allows us to give people their tax write-offs and give them a tax number. There's a tax ID, right? And so everybody gets the ability to do more from it. We've had artists like David Caldwell come out and give us his entire story. And he's like, hey, you can say this during your stream. We've had actual providers come on stream. We call them the voice, but they give you a mental health background, the importance, and they speak on it. And that's like the biggest way that people can reach out and help us do what we do. And like, one of our biggest goals is we'd like to focus on the artist. We've got a couple of artists from the Capitol Palette at the NOVA Open that have donated models to us. And, in return, we're like, hey, give us an interview, 2 questions. Here's your 2 questions, and answer them to whatever extent you want. And then we take those and we attach them to their raffle items. So when people outside of our community come to our website and see this raffle item, they get to connect with that artist. They get to understand the struggles that's in that artist's life and the mental health struggles that artist went through. It's not just, hey, thanks for this awesome Wargaming army that you painted, we're going to put it up for raffle now. Hey, stop, pause. There's a reason why you decided to do this with MHCP. How about you expand on that and let us share that story with the whole entire world? So speaking of that, August the 1st, we will launch our next raffle for the year, round 2. So round 2, we've got about 32 items that over the next month I'll be building into a raffle site. We've got actually donations from Mike. So we got one coming from Mike. Lily, a Black Forge Games artist. She is, oh, that looks wonderful, Mike. Lily donated 2. She donated 2 models from Black Forge Games that she painted, and they are phenomenal. Nice. We've got Dan. I can't say Dan's last name. Dan Ski is what I say, but Dan, phenomenal painter last year. Walked away with a lot of best in show for the journeyman, and now he's a master painter. He's donating 1.
You mean Dave?
Dave, Dave,
Dave Smears. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. All the Dans got me so confused right now. But David Ski, he came to the studio, we painted together, and he was like, I definitely will donate. We've got a lot of
great guy, great artist.
Just a lot of artists that are just coming out because they want to. Vanessa Miniatures, Kaylee Larson. We even got some people from Creature Caster painting up some stuff.
Nice.
It's really a humbling moment for me because it's something that I started just by myself. And now there's a lot of people in the community that want to help out, to the point to where we're now sponsored by the NOVA Open Convention, which we will be there in charge of the paint and take and the speed paint during that time. So it's a lot of events coming up. Our major one, like I said, is be the raffle and then the convention. And we're trying to do something very special for New Year's Eve, to do some promotion for Black Forge Games, which has been our biggest sponsor, providing us with the huge statues and things like that over the years.
So if I remember correctly, like Dave Caldwell was like your first artist, right? That was
David. Yes.
Okay. So now, I mean, I gotta ask. There's only like now you gotta go like because I view Dave as one of the best artists in the world, and so then you bring in a schlep like me, and so I don't know. I'm like, sorry, my bad, But
so you'd be surprised, right? So like, our viewpoint of people in our community is totally viewed differently from somebody outside of our community. David Caldwell is by far a great mentor, a great person. When I met him on Instagram, just talking about his work, he was like, hey, listen, I know what you're doing. If you need someone to talk to or mentor you on your journey, I'm here. And like we built that relationship and that bond. And so like when it came to me asking him, 2 years in a row, I was like, hey, it's the second year we're doing this again. I just wanted to let you know we would like for you to donate a model if you have time and if you're willing to. And his response was with 5 pictures, pick one. And then I was like, cool. I also need you to answer these 2 questions. He was like, you'll have it tomorrow. And sure enough, he sent it to me. And just a remarkable story. He's somebody we're trying. We need to get him on the show too. I watched his interview with Vince Venturella. That was really good too. He seems like just a down to earth. It does not surprise me at all from even the few interactions I've had that he was on board to help you out. Yeah, David is he when I'm down and I'm out and I lose motivation, he's like that rock for me. And lately I've been that rock for him. He sees all the stuff that I'm doing, and he's like, man, just watching you continue to paint and do good work, keeps me focused too. So it's a good relationship. We're both feeding into that relationship, and it's very, very heartwarming, even though we're both on other sides of the world. I mean, we know when we send each other a message, cool, he's sleeping right now, but he's gonna, as soon as he sees it, he's gonna wake up. You know,
Y'all are so far apart that even email takes a while to get there. You know,
yes,
because he's
yes,
down under, man.
he
You
is
know?
down under. That is somebody that, you know, like you have these people in the community that if you see, you get all, oh, you get so excited. Listen, if David was in the same building as me, I'm probably running over half the people in the room to go see my friend.
Yeah. Well, he's, you know, it's one of those things too with Dave is that he's at the point in his journey now where if you put a piece out in front of me, I'll tell you whether it's Romans, Banshees, Eric's, or Dave. Dave is one of those artists that you can recognize his style. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the ultimate echelon for me. Like that's where I want to be. Where I can develop a style that's recognizable. You know what I mean? And Dave's at that point too. So that's awesome. But anyways, I don't want to. You know, we can be the Dave Caldwell fangirl show later on. I'm a big fan of his work too. But so also let me ask you this: we had chatted a little bit about this in the past, and you mentioned it. So the way the charity works is that you raise funds, and then you have a group of organizations that you support. That does it mostly go to sort of like the vets, to the veterans, or is it just mental health charities in general? Either way is beautiful. That's not a critique. It's just a question, you know, because I have to throw out that I'm a Navy brat. I know I'm the odd man out here. I didn't serve, but I joke that I did for 18 years just because my dad kind of treated us like we were in the Navy. So I got that out of the way early, but I only needed the 2x4 in a metal trash can one time to wake up on time. You know,
That's it.
That was enough.
So yeah, we donated. So as we started, we donated to many different organizations. Some dealt with veterans, some dealt with just an organization that provided free mental health for people that needed it, and some were across the world. You know, like to this day, we still donate money to the Mental Health Foundation of New Zealand, mainly because a lot of our partners and people like David and Black Forge Games live over in that side of the world, you know, so we donate to them and they take that money and spread it to other organizations that provide the help in that area. You know, so this year we're going to be donating to 3 veterans organizations that help vets, and then 1 organization that helps around the world, with the goal of next year of being able to create a trust fund or a grant to where anybody can go and get a self-healing retreat at one of the locations that we're sponsoring with that money. You know, it may cost $1,200 for us to send somebody, anyone in the world, to go to this retreat, and it may only be, you know, for certain organizations to go. Like it could be for veterans only at this retreat, but I'm paying for you to go. You know, the MHCP's donations, we're going to pay for you to go to this retreat, even though you're not a veteran. You need the self-healing. You put in the application, and the board members from that organization selected you to win the grant to come to that retreat and get 3 days worth of self-healing. One of those places is the Moraine View Veterans Retreat, which is located in North Central Illinois. I do currently have in the workings for us to be able to send other people to that retreat for 3 days and get the self-healing that they provide for veterans right now. Right now, veterans can go for free. And when veterans go, they get to do, you know, group talks. They can have a place to just be quiet. They can go put their hands to work and go out in the fields and work. They get, you know, the opportunity for yoga, massage therapy, equine therapy with horses, and everything's paid for while you're there. You don't even have to worry about cooking or buying your meals. You're out in the middle of the wilderness, just finding yourself for 3 days.
I usually find myself out in the middle of weirdness, but not wilderness.
I agree.
But that's amazing. I love the different aspects of mental healing, that there's not just one answer. You know what I mean? And it may not be that art therapy solves your problem. It may be that it's more holistic, that you do art therapy and talk and then do like kind of a process almost, it's a beautiful thing for sure. All right. There was something else I was going to ask about this that my brain is blanking now.
Was about this guy right here while we're talking about the donations and the raffles?
Sure, we could talk. We could talk Mr. Gorilla in the forest there, in the bamboo. Nice. So yeah, that's definitely the goon master bamboo, right?
Yep.
Okay, I recognize it. I just downloaded that stuff. Yeah, let's talk about it. So when I met you, one of the things I was teaching a basing class at the Kill Team Open, and we had an opportunity, not in the class, but outside the class, to spend some time talking about composition and things along those lines. One of the things that you had brought with you is a piece, and make sure you send us a good photo of that, because we'll post that online for us as like when we promote the show. Is a guerrilla samurai who's kind of got a don't F with me pose going on. And so we talked about the basing and composition and things along those lines. Talk to me a little bit about why you chose that piece, and your color choices for it, because it is the color choices are unique. You use purples and reds, etc., for the skin tones and such. And so, see, I remember.
You are 100%. Hey, man, I can't say Mike. I got to watch out what I say around Mike. You don't forget.
Well, I'm a former debate coach, and so that whole life is remembering what everybody else said, right? Like, wait, what did you say here? No, you said this. Wait a minute, I got you.
So yeah, once again. So one, we picked this piece because, well, I love gorillas. And actually at the end of NOVA last year, I was challenged to try and paint a more realistic model. So I actually have two of these because I did not do the challenge. I was supposed to paint it realistic. I painted it in a fantasy form still. So I have one to try and paint more realistic. But I love gorillas. I got 4 gorilla tattoos. And if you look at my stream, it's a little. So
you're not monkeying around. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not monkeying around. Look, I throw it, hit you with a banana. Keep playing around. Dan, I'm telling you right now, I'm throwing banana at you at Nova. So yeah, I picked it, and then I was like, oh wait, and then so I reached out to White Gorilla Games, and I asked them, hey, I want to buy this STL and I want to send it to 5 other people to paint. And we want to raffle them off in an auction for mental health. I approached them with, I want to buy it, and White Gorilla Games returned back like, no, here's the file. Tell us when you're going to do it. Let us know if you need anything else and we will help. And I didn't know that they've already heard about what we were doing. So they sent us, the file. Mungo's Marvelous Miniatures printed 5 of them. So Cephalopod Studios painted one. Signarly painted one. I painted one. Wicked Minis painted one. And Pun Expected painted one. So 2 of them just went out in the last raffle, and you're going to actually see 3 of them in the next raffle, to include mine. So the purple's my favorite color. So the purple was the main color. I used the blue for the shadows, and I used the red for the highlights. I asked Brush for Hire and Seth, hey, I really want to paint purple more. And they're like, well, just use purple, red, and blue. They were like, that's the colors that make purple. Use them backwards, forwards, put reds in the shadows, play around with it. So each model that I've painted lately has had some form of those three somewhere on it, um, in a mix, but it's also a very, once again, limited palette, right? So I use Cuttlefish colors, and I've only used the Black Knight, the White Knight. I use their Sacrificial Red and their Warlock Purple. Um, and those colors also gave me the browns. If I mix the red, the Sacrificial Red with the Black Knight, it gave me the browns that's on the model. Now the base I use different colors because I talked with you, Mike, and you educated me on making sure that it looked as realistic as possible. So I actually painted it that way and started with the brown and moved from the brown to the greens and from the greens to the light greens to the teals. And so, that area, the base is totally different than the actual model itself. Um, but I tried to take what you taught me about basing and do the best that I could with it.
Oh, you did a great job. You did a beautiful job, like we talked about framing and different use of lines. You did a great job, man. Well done, well done. You probably already knew all that shit, anyways.
No, I'll promise you, I didn't. Like, I'm the least technical painter when it comes to painting. Like, I had to write down all those notes. Like when you wrote it down. Matter of fact, if I go in the other room and grab my box that has the other gorilla in it, all the notes and everything and all the pieces that we gathered outside, I kept all that stuff. It's sitting in a box,
Nice.
waiting for me to paint the next gorilla. So, like, I don't take things for granted because I know I'm not that type of like very technical person when it comes to doing these things. I just have fun. So you took the time to teach me and show me something, and that meant a lot.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I enjoyed it, and I tell you what, I enjoyed our field trip into the parking lot, into the woods, and it was a hands-on experience. We went out, took a look at real nature, etc., and had fun with it. For sure.
So now that you've painted a figure or two that you really enjoy, is there anything in your future? Do you happen to have any MHCP figures planned down the road?
So with my Kickstarter for my poetry book, I did venture into creating my own models. I created two models of myself. So one is a bust, which I will be painting over the next 30 days so I can enter it in Capital Palette. It is a bust of myself. And so venturing into that, I've got some experience now, and we're really, really looking at what we could do as far as a model for MHCP. We haven't really come up with like a little cartoon mascot or something yet, but I think once we come up with that, there are some sculptors out there that I would really like to work with and have them sculpt up a model that could represent MHCP as a whole. And you can guarantee whatever model it is, they're going to have on a paintbrush. They might have a little backpack with a wet palette of huge, like I think in chibi style, So like I want you to have a backpack that has its huge wet palette sticking out of it, and you got like a bunch of paintbrushes on a tool belt or something. We just got to figure out what kind of cartoon we want to put to there. And it may be the little gorilla that I have on my stream. We may end up turning that into it. We do have an artist that volunteers his time for us, and it'd be awesome just to grab and snag an idea. But seeing it here and you guys asking me it today, just brings it to the forefront that we should probably do something like that, for everybody in the community. Other models that I plan on painting in the future, I was actually gifted a model by Brush for Hire. Me, my daughter, my wife, we drove up to see Brush for Hire in his studio. Um, right after my retirement, we drove all the way up there to see him and make sure that we got a chance to see him. And he gifted me this huge bust. Um, and I'm trying to remember right now the name the name of the bust that he gave me. Who was it from? But it's a huge wizard bust. I mean, the thing is like at least 13 inches tall, maybe right at 12. It's just a head, um, and it is freaking awesome that he was like, I'm never gonna paint this, and when he handed it to me, I had already known what I was going to do with it. It's a bust sculpted by Anthony Watkins. So Anthony Watkins is the person that sculpted it, and it's really awesome. It's I already know what I'm going to do with it. So this is going to be one of my bigger projects after Nova. So my year of painting starts after Nova. So Mike, I know you can see what this bad boy looks like.
Huh. Very cool.
And I will paint this with the brush only. I don't airbrush anything, so this will all be paintbrush worked.
Use a really big brush. Like, get your house paint brush out to put that base coat on. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I have some great ideas for it, and that will be, that's my capstone piece. Like I like to pay respects to the things that are given to me by other people, and that is a definitely a new model. I have some Big Child Creative busted models out there that I would really like to try and paint, with my vision on them, and because I have talked to them, and they in the future I would like for them to work with us too, because they have a nice crew. I got to talk to their team out at Adepticon. Yeah, we spent, and because I got there early because I was helping, and I got to have a real good conversation with those guys and girls over there, and it's so humbling when you get to speak with them. And then I have a scale 75 model that was gifted to me, from another veteran that works there, and I definitely want to get that one painted too, and just show the respect of, hey, thank you, and you helped me with my own troubles by this me allowing me to paint this model. Yeah, no, it's definitely, I didn't know there was all these types of models out there, and it's really pulled me away from like the war gaming. But then I got it bought into Kickstarters, and Kickstarters have board games, and I dove in and got the whole Super Fantasy Brawl game, and so I got all those models to paint. I got at least 100 something CMON games from Arcadia Quest models to paint. And so like I got a lot of stuff that I could paint. I also got some Lazy Square game stuff that I need to get out there. Um,
Yeah,
and
I've heard of them. I think
Lazy
they had
Squire.
Lazy Squire. They had didn't they have a booth at Adepticon? Or
So at
somebody was selling their
Adepticon,
stuff.
so they were there with uh, Mini Wargaming Dave
Okay.
and Robert. Robert was there from Lazy Squire Games, helping out at that booth. But Robert has also sent me some models here. I have their mascot, and he really asked me to paint up their mascot. And since he'll be at Nova, I want to try and get this little guy painted up and let him take this back with him to the studio, for his team. And we've got they've just been great. Like anybody that's part of the MHCP committees or the painters, a lot of the people that have been working with us, like, hey, can you reach out to Kaylee Larson for us? We'd like to talk to her for some things. Yeah, sure, no problem. Give me 2 seconds, and I text Kaylee, and Kaylee's excited. She's like, I didn't know this could happen, and it just just to see everybody that's in the group that's helping be really excited. I mean,
Right.
we're trying to be as professional as possible. We got a trifold made. We do have a website. We have an Instagram page. Um,
And we'll
we're
put
just
all those in the show notes too, so that people can access the links as well.
Yeah, I mean, all of those are just, we just really tried to make sure that one, the community knew who was doing it, two, know that, though we love painting and we're doing all this stuff, nobody in MHCP gets paid. We do all of this stuff in our free time, just to be able to give back to the community as a whole. So that's the biggest thing, and I love painting models, and Black Forge Games keeps making new models, which means I'm gonna have bigger statues to paint.
Nice, nice. And so I have to throw out a shameless plug for us really quickly though, because we talked about the MHCP having a model. We now have a mini sculpted by 3D Samurai Art, and yeah, I will post pictures of it, and I'll send you some pictures of it too to see. I need to print out a little bit bigger one, and so, but yeah, the Listening to Paint Dry has a mini. And so the show will be ending now because we've accomplished everything that I wanted. So we got a mini and talked to a bunch of people. So good night. See you guys later. That's it. Done. Going into retirement.
Right.
But yeah, I was actually thinking about potentially. I won't be able to get to it this year, but I was thinking about printing out a 75 millimeter version of it and doing it for the next year's the next auction.
Hey, by all means.
Yeah.
And we do some parties and things like that too. We do a lot of stream parties. So, if you want, we could get 4 or 5, maybe 7 other artists painting that one model and putting it up and just make it as if you win this raffle, you get, we get one, or you can get all plus the one painted by Mike from Listen to Paint Dry. We love doing stuff like that because it gets people excited and it's something new. It's something different. So by all means, we have no problems. We have fun doing it.
That's the other side of it, right? And that probably helps so much with the mental health side of it. But it kind of that right there is a great segue to do it. And Dan, I'm totally going to steal this question, and I'm going to make you answer first. What are some of the ways that both of you deal with the mental health challenges? And how does with using painting or a kind of around, we'll say painting centric. So, Prince, do you want to go first?
So, I have PTSD, chronic PTSD from combat zones that deals with survivor's guilt. And also with the loud noises from the fireworks. So we know 4th of July was just yesterday. And, you usually catch me sipping on an adult beverage with some earmuffs on. If I'm not streaming at the same time, I am sitting here painting. And the reason that I'm painting is because I don't want my mind to wander every time I hear a firecracker go off. Or because when I wander, then I start to think about the bad things. So if I'm painting, I'm focusing. And the stuff that I'm painting right now is competition level stuff, So I have to focus. I have to pay attention. I can't slip because that's 3 hours of me going back trying to fix the skin tone, and make the skin tone perfect. So my attention's on the paint job and not what's going on around me. And so that really helps me zone in during trigger moments. And then when not trigger moments, it's just like, taking your Benadryl or your vitamin D. Every day I paint, I'm just helping my immune system get stronger. And, because I'm in a happy place. I'm doing something that's happy. And that's another reason why I don't try and do a lot of technical stuff, because it takes away from that happiness mode and it moves into work mode or teaching mode or trying to educate myself. I want to be able to build my immune system up and that requires it to be easy.
Mm-hmm. I think you're probably doing stuff subconsciously too. Like when you say you're in easy mode and you're not doing it too complicated and stuff, my bet is that there are techniques that are slipping in there and you're not even thinking about it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the beauty of it, right? That it's just that it's kind of a moment of zen. You know?
I 100% agree. That's what some of the artists in the community that have watched me paint, and they're like, "What do you mean you don't know how to do it? You just did it." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" You know, or they're like, "Oh, that's a nice, cool black that you put." I'm like, "Oh, cool, what? Look, it's black." And like, we just watched you mix black and blue together.
I'm thoroughly convinced that a lot of painting is the same thing about how people deal with grammar, right? That they may not know what it's called, but they know when a sentence is right and wrong, or wrong. You know what I mean? Like they may not have the technical term in it. And I think a lot of things with art is the same way. Like you may not have known the phrasing of lines for composition cause your eyes to go places, but you were certainly intelligent enough to have figured that out on your own. You know what I mean? Like, and you may not call it lines. You might say, "Oh, this points in this direction," so I looked there, right? And so I think too many times people get wrapped up in the technical terms of things like art and things like, well, English. My God forbid my wife hears me as the English teacher. I'm gonna
You're gonna get in trouble.
We get too wrapped up in those terms instead of just glazing makes sense, right? You know, you take some thin paints, put them over another paint, and you're going to get a gradient because they're transparent, right? And so it's not even something that you technically have to think hard about per se, right? And probably do stuff like that without knowing, hey, this is called the filter, or this is called the glaze, this is called dry blushing, this is called wet blend. You know what I'm saying? Like, anyways, I digress. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that, Prince. Dan, what about you? Are there how does painting help your mental health or help you focus, etc.?
Well, I think I know we try to keep this within the painting realm, but I think you really have to expand that scope a little bit. In order for people to get the best out of their own free time and to decompress, you have to do something that you really enjoy. When I have to bite my tongue a lot when I hear of painters that are frustrated or they get angry. This is supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be something that makes you happy. So you need, well, I can't tell you need to because I'm not a professional. You should try to locate and find those centers of your happiness. And if it happens to be painting, great. If it's doing mold lines, because I have talked to people who said, "Oh, I enjoy putting figures together. I hate painting." It's still part of the hobby world. They find something enjoyable about that process. Maybe it's just making a list of your paints, organizing your paints. There's quite a few people that spend quite a bit of time on their wonderful painting desk, but I don't think I've ever seen them paint anything. And that's cool. That's fine because that's the part of the hobby that makes them happy and grounds them. And hey, you know what? Maybe it's not painting this week. Maybe it's listening to songs on the radio or on a record player, or maybe it's playing video games, or maybe it's reading books or watching stupid movies or getting lost on Twitter or something. You got to find, and I'm taking this one from Prince here. You got to find your happy place, and wherever it may take you, because part of a hobby is something that you enjoy, and if you're not finding enjoyment in it, why are you doing it? So that's kind of my take on that. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. That's all I have to say about that.
Well said, Dan. Well said.
It is well said. For sure. Absolutely. And I know for me, a lot of what painting does for me is growing up the tiny guy in a high school that was a nerd on the debate team, chess club, all that, and 5'4". Let's just say I developed some insecurities. It's amazing that what painting does to kind of take those things away. But on the other side, though, and this is kind of a little bit of the drawback of looking at things like competitive painting, is that self-doubt, and it can be paralyzing, right? And you sit there and look at a model and go, I spent too much money on this model, so I'm not going to paint it because I'm not good enough to paint it. And then you don't put the brush to the paint and to the model, etc. And then it now truly is a waste of money because it's sitting there gray. And so that I feel like there's kind of a complex layer with mental health in the community, because painting is such an amazing way to help with mental health, but there are aspects of it that also kind of create challenges in and of themselves and maybe highlight things like personal insecurities, etc. I know for me, where I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, I've actually set up a stripping station. And not the good kind, not like strippers and dancers or anything, but like, a big bucket of Simple Green. That, what it says to me, nothing of this is permanent, right? I can always correct a mistake or just start over. And so regardless of how much money I spent on a model, regardless of what I perceive as my abilities, etc., I can always hit the reset button. And so the interesting thing, though, is since I've started doing that about a year ago, I've actually only stripped 2 models that I've worked on. And one of them, because it was a Bonzo, I dropped it into my wet palette. It fell off my holder into the wet palette. And it was interesting. But I just couldn't, when I tried to wash it off, it reactivated paint below, and it just was, all downhill from there. But so it's such a complex topic, and I really appreciate the opportunity to address it with you, Prince, and hear about your personal situations. Yours are definitely different. Being a combat vet, I can, in a sense, understand, because I did live with my dad, who was a Navy vet, 3 tours in Vietnam. Going down, he was a riverboat pilot, so right there, one of the shortest lived jobs in Vietnam, and seeing him struggle with PTSD before they really called it that, before it really had a focus. I just remember seeing that, well, people who come back from combat just aren't right, and they weren't really treated particularly well. They're not treated as well as they should be now, but it's certainly much better than when my dad came back from combat, etc., from Vietnam. And so, in seeing those lasting effects, even into, until before he passed in his 70s, you know what I mean? We have those somewhat cliche stories of the backfiring car sending my dad under the table. Things along those lines. And so, in fireworks were always a challenge for him as well. Although he pushed, the good thing, though, the thing we used to laugh about with him is that, because he was a bosun master chief, and so he was always on the inside of the ship. So by the time we got around to where he's taking his grandkids to go see fireworks, he couldn't hear a damn thing anyway, so it didn't really bother, because he had such terrible tinnitus from being inside the ship. It's so loud in there. But his joke, not mine, that he couldn't hear a damn thing anyway. So by the end of it, so let's take this opportunity. Why don't you tell our listeners where they can find out more about the Mental Health Charity Painters?
Yeah, most definitely. So, if you want to catch us on social media, we only have one social media page, and that is MHC Painters. will be the one that has a green ribbon. It's got 2 paintbrushes behind it, and then it has a glowing brain, and it says Mental Health Charity Painters. That's the avatar that you'll see on our Instagram page. And then, so to get to our website, we do have our website there. You can go to where it says way to support us. We actually have some companies that have put our logo on some of their items, and they're selling them to, help raise money. But our website is mhcpainters.org, and it takes you there. You got a nice little bio about myself and the other council members. I'm actually in the process of updating the gallery to show you what was donated the first raffle, and I'm actually working on the second raffle now. There's some things, we try and map out on the website so you can see what we've done throughout the year. And it's usually like 2 or 3 people. I'm telling you guys and girls, there's only 2 or 3 people that are making a lot of this happen in the background. And then we've got about 8 or 9 people out there in the community that are spreading the word. But yeah, those 2. And then of course we have our Discord page. So, if you go and look at our link tree on there, and it takes you to the Discord. If the link is out, always find me. You can find me on Instagram as MHCP_knucklehead, spelled EL, not LE. Everybody always wants to try and spell it correctly. Listen, I spelled things wrong on purpose.
That's because you're a knucklehead right now.
Exactly. Like, I was waiting for it. That's exactly why it's spelled wrong. So yeah, we will have some things coming up. If you get on our Discord, we have a Halloween contest that my daughter runs for mental health awareness going on right now. We just launched it today, and you have the possibility of winning an entire Elica model. So the full-size statue from Black Forge Games, the Elica model. But you got to go on the Discord to get the information and sign up. So, whether we get 6 people or 7 people or 4 people, we're going to do the contest. And the winners are picked by children, by the way. I'm not voting. No adults are. The children are. And they are crucial, Mike. They're like, oh, I like that one. And you could be like, it doesn't even got no blends. I don't care. It looks cool. Number 1 goes in there,
And there's no rhyme or reason arguing with them either. Doesn't make you let them be, right?
Yeah, let them be. Listen, I don't even get into it. I think that's what makes it so much fun is it's children, and to see our art looked at from their perspective is totally different. Mm-hmm. It's the last person that won just made something look really cool and pretty, and like all the kids were like, that one. Mm-hmm. And some other people are like, man, I would have picked this one over that. I'm like, hey, that's why you're not a kid no more.
Right. Yeah, and that's it. And if we all judged our own pieces, maybe, you know what I mean? It's not it's the reason why they have judges, and you put your hands in the judges, your fate in the judges, right?
Yep.
So, well, thank you so much, Prince. I really appreciate you being on the show with us.
No, Mike, Dan, it's been a pleasure. I know we've been working on this for, it almost seems like a year now that we've been trying to get this to go. But, I think it happened at the right time, during the right time with NOVA coming up. This is perfect, road to NOVA. And for you, Mike, road to ReaperCon. Capital Palate's coming up. I really am hoping that Capital Palate reaches and passes its expectations and breaks the goal from last year. I mean, last year was my first convention ever. And I got to spend my first convention ever with Dan. And it was really a humbling experience because I know, right?
Hey, he was in the first class I ever took at a convention, so we were in the same class. So
yeah. So, and I'm not the best, like, I'm not good at classroom. And you saw when I was in Will Hahn's class, I was I was just doing all types of stuff, and Will's like, "No, do it this way, do this." I was like, "That's not fun, though. I don't want to do it that way." So. But I learned how to make rust with the paints that I have, taking that class. So I didn't opt out for any classes this time at Nova. I will be working the entire time that I'm there. To build that partnership with the new sponsorship that they're giving us. So it's really going to be great, and I really had fun chatting it up with my brothers tonight, and definitely look forward to seeing you, Dan, in a couple of months. And Mike, I look forward to seeing that awesome model. Now, when are you entering that model?
Actually, I really need to get it done, everything done by tomorrow because I go on vacation. The deadline is July 14th. So I just want to be done with it and not worry about it and work on ReaperCon pieces while I'm gone on vacation. Because I always bring paint and stuff with me.
Exactly. I will have a lot of paint and stuff with me too. Well, good luck to you on that.
Thank you, sir.
Dan's like a ghost. I'm going to have to hype Dan up. And Dan, I'm coming to you at Nova with the hypeness. I'm coming.
I'm here. I'm here, man. And you're really downplaying this whole interaction and collaboration you have with Nova Open. Or you probably gotta play that up a little bit more. We've talked all the time. We're always in meetings together, chatting about schedules, who's going where, what's going what's going to be on this table, what in the world is he doing, him sharing pictures of all the little figures he has for his painting competitions and stuff. He's downplaying it an awful lot. He's going to be a very big part of Nova Open this year. And you guys just look out and enjoy the Hobby Haven, the Capital Palette, and our seminars. We're all working together. We're really trying to pump up this art club. I think we're trying to figure out a cool name. I wonder if art club would be something kind of funny to try to get the hobby side of the gaming to elevate it to where we feel it needs to be, because art's first.
You need something 100%. Like Hellfire Club shirts, like the Hellfire Club shirts from Stranger Things that have it like art club.
We do, but everybody gets a shit. Did you saw those posts, right? Because Monument is our major sponsor this year,
right?
And they're going to give us a lot of cool shit, and we're pretty excited about that. So we were talking on about months ago about having some sort of slogan or something like that. So I think Jason said art should be first, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, art first. So a couple weeks ago we finally got the logo, and it's art first, but it's made in their kind of their lettering,
their hobby,
where they take the vowels out.
Mm-hmm.
So people are responding like, well, you misspelled it. I'm like, you do realize why we're doing this, right? But it hasn't really taken off. It's too bad, because you're getting a shit ton of swag that says art, FRTS on it, or farts. That's farts.
It says farts on it.
Yeah, everybody's getting art farts. Let's see. Now I gotta remember how to spell. Let's see.
Smells like hell, but at least
FRST, I guess first. Yeah, I think that's how it is. Yeah. So it's
I think I got my new license plate. Art farts.
Art farts. I think my wife made a comment about that a long time ago. Maybe that's why it's in my brain. That's funny. So we're gonna have to dig through that minutia, because people are just gonna be like, "Oh, it's misspelled." So I'm gonna just hand it to all the little kids and make them go talk to their parents about it or something.
Mommy,
yeah,
this random bald guy just handed me a fart button.
I'll give you more than a fart button, child.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh man, here we go. No, I mean,
Yeah.
we have been in the background doing a lot of work and a lot of meetings. You know, I guess for me, it's the norm, right? After 22 years of being in the military and working for senior officers and senior leaders, you know, it's normal day business. You know, these things that we're supposed to do, but it's just like you guys told me I didn't know who I was talking about. You know, I came to the kill team thing, and I'm talking to all these people with the two of you because I only knew the two of you, and then you're like, "Oh, you didn't know who Dave Taylor was?" No, man, that's just me. I made Dave Taylor at the thing. They was like, "Bro, that's the Dave Taylor." I'm like, "The Dave Taylor of who?" And they're like, "Let me show you this website." And then I see all these books that Dave's writing. I've seen all this stuff that Dave's done. I'm like, "Oh, that's Dave Taylor." And then I run into Dave at the airport on the way to Adepticon, and we sit there to have a conversation and hug. And I was like, "Man, I didn't know who you were." He was like, "It's cool. I appreciate the fact that you just wanted to have a conversation." You know, so I guess that's the reason why I'm that way about, you know, what's happening with Nova. It's very stressful, actually, you know, to make sure that we do what we set out to do. Uh, Me and Mike Sibilia, you know, we worked for 7 months to get us at Nova, and so, you know, I really want to cherish that ability to move to the next level with what we're doing.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, thank you so much, man, for being on the show. We really appreciate you. And
It's my pleasure.
thank you so much for listening.
A special shout out to our Patreons. Thank you very much for your support. And if all you others are inclined to do so, we'd love to have you as a Patreon also. Check out our link tree in the show notes for all our quick links.
Email us at listeningtopaintdry@gmail.com. Tell us what you're working on, or what cons you've been to, or how you're doing. We'd love to hear from you. Also, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Listening to Paint Dry.
We're also on X at Dry Listening.
Like, subscribe, or follow us wherever you get your podcast. If you could also leave us a good review, we'd appreciate that.
We'll be back soon with another riveting episode of Listening to Paint Dry.
Listening to Paint Dry with Mike and Dan is a production of LTPTWMD. All rights reserved. No portion of this recording may be used without the express written consent of the host. The music is Death by a Thousand Questions by Springtide. Download from the Free Music Archive on a non-commercial attribution share-alike basis. All views and opinions expressed in the show are solely the views and opinions of the person who said them. All celebrity voices, if any, were impersonated and done so poorly.